Forgiveness. Written by J. David. As she stood on the marble balcony, gazing out on the setting sun, her thoughts began to wander. Princess Celestia, guardian of the day and co-ruler of Equestria, had been considering something for some time now. At first, she dismissed the notion, convincing herself that it would never work. But as time went on, it began to grow in her mind and began to trouble her to no end. She knew that sooner or later she would have to address it. But how to do so? She raised her head and looked out on the brilliantly orange sun touching the horizon before her. She sighed and closed her eyes. Her horn began to glow its usual yellow as the glowing orb moved further down. A few minutes passed, and soon enough, there was darkness across the land. Celestia opened her eyes and looked up at the sky. Darkness, but no moon, no stars. She hated seeing the sky like this. Her sister always made it so beautiful, but before she could work the night sky, it always looked so lifeless to her, so dead. A sentiment Luna herself shared. Speaking of whom, Celestia heard the familiar sound of footsteps approaching behind her. Turning, she gave a smile as her younger sister approached, her beautiful night mane flowing in the gentle breeze. The sisters said nothing to each other, merely giving each other a brief smile and nod. Luna took her place next to Celestia and closed her eyes as she always did. Her horn glowed a gentle blue, and, within minutes, the pale light of the moon rose beyond the horizon and illuminated the land. A few moments later, and the sky around it was filled with bright dots of light, the stars. Now, this is more like it, Celestia thought. Luna always created the most beautiful night skies. When she was placed in charge of both day and night, she had tried hard to emulate her craft, but it had never seemed quite as magnificent as this. It pleased her greatly to see the night sky back in the proper hooves again. Luna opened her eyes and looked up towards her elder sister. It did not take her long to note the look of worry she bore upon her face. Something troubles thee, does it not, sister? Celestia said nothing, merely nodding. You're really thinking about it? Bringing him back? Celestia nodded again. Him, the bringer of chaos, the spirit of disharmony, discord. It had been over a year since she and the malicious spirit had their brief encounter in the Hall of the Elements of Harmony, and even then his mocking words towards her still run in her mind. In his brief day of freedom, discord had inflicted chaos across all of Equestria, sowing strife amongst its populace and terror among those he did not corrupt. It had not reached the depths to which he had sunk during his first reign 1,000 years ago, but given enough time, she was certain it would have. Have you told her? Celestia looked down at her sister. Luna did not clarify, but one look at her face gave Celestia all the information she needed. The Moon Princess was clearly referring to Celestia's beloved student, Twilight Sparkle. When Discord was freed last time, it was her and her friends that had been dispatched to deal with him. It was not a decision Celestia wanted to take, but she had no choice. Only the elements of harmony could defeat him, and since she and Luna no longer had the connection to the elements as they once did, the task had to be theirs alone. But it was a decision she'd always felt bad about. Discord had come close to ruining the friendships she'd developed with those other 5 mares. He twisted them, corrupted their most precious personality traits until they were nothing more than mockeries of their true selves. Celestia hated him for having done that, and more than that, she hated herself for having put Twilight and her friends in that position. The day had been won, of course, and Discord had been imprisoned once more, but even then she felt no better at sending her subjects to deal with a threat she felt was hers to face. I have not told her, but I know I'll have to. Luna looked up at her, her expression an uncertain one. You know this will be difficult for her. For all of them. Celestia turned to face her, her face filled with regret. I know that, but I have to do this. I made a great mistake in sending her and her friends out to face him the last time. It was a mistake, and I intend to fix it. Celestia was made silent by her own words, finding it difficult to really grasp with the path she'd set herself on. She knew as well as any how angry Twilight and her friends would be with her over this. Her attention was then drawn to Luna, who gently placed a hoof on her shoulder. Your plans have always worked, sister, and they will this time too. Despite the circumstances, Celestia afforded herself a brief chuckle. Even after all this, her little sister still respected and looked up to her. It was a moment that brought her joy, however brief it may have been in comparison to the fears she felt at the possibility of allowing Discord's return. But, as comforting as this moment was, she knew she had to come up with a plan, and soon. Discord's last encounter with the ponies would have given him all the experience he needed to know how to deal with them again. He wouldn't chance hiding the elements this time. It was certain he'd try and take them away again, if not destroy them. It was something she'd had to prepare for. As she dwelt on it all, she looked over at her sister, who was looking very skeptical over the whole thing, despite her earlier confidence. That look had not escaped the elder sister's notice. You fear what might happen? Luna looked away, partly out of shame over having been found out, but soon enough, she let out a sigh. Yes, after everything he has done, to Equestria, to the ponies under our charge, to us, how can you even consider wanting to bring him back into the fold? Celestia could not deny that her plan was a long shot. A year ago, such a plan would have sounded ridiculous to her as well. But this was something she'd been considering for some time. Sister, remember, Discord, despite being no pony, is still of Equestria. Some of the anger left Luna's face as Celestia said that. Instead, it was replaced with a look of sadness, of regret. Celestia knew what she was thinking. As the princesses of this land, they were charged with the care and guidance of every living thing within it. As much as neither of them had ever wanted to admit to it, that included Discord as well. It was something that had sickened both of them whenever the notion had made itself known to their minds. Sister, that may be so, but after everything he's done, how can you possibly expect him to become like our subjects? He is chaos incarnate! Celestia closed her eyes. She knew her next words would sting, but she had no choice. Because I believe that every pony should have a chance to atone for their actions. Luna felt silent at that. Memories of her own dark past swelled up. It was a topic that neither of them ever wished to discuss with one another, and under normal circumstances she'd resent Celestia for bringing it up. But as much as she hated to say it, she was right. She too had been given a chance to atone once, and if she's unwilling to offer that same chance to another, what would that say about her? She looked up at her sister again, whose face bore a look of determination upon it. Luna's face became similar, and she silently nodded at her elder. The two looked out over the horizon at the rising moon Luna had created. "Very well, sister. I do not like it, but I understand your reasons. For your sake, I will accept your decision." Celestia let out a sigh of relief. A part of her honestly thought Luna would not accept this decision. Seeing her be accepting of it brought much comfort to her heart, even though it wasn't enough to quell the fears she felt that maybe this plan might not work. But she stored those fears away for now as her little sister spoke once more. "So, Celestia, how shall we do this?" The Sun Princess considered this question. An idea popped into her head. She didn't want to have to put her in that position again, but she knew it was needed. Knowing this, she gave Luna her answer. "I think I have just the pony who can help us in this."